Design plays a fundamental role in our learning. It affects how information is presented, perceived, and retained. We look for cues in the world to capture our attention and things that stand out against everything else. As infants, we are drawn to rounded shapes, bright colors, and faces. As teenagers, we're drawn to more abstract shapes, trending color palettes, and contemporary fonts. As adults, we're drawn to muted colors, geometric shapes, and uncluttered designs. For all ages, designs that are visually pleasing and emotionally engaging can create positive learning environments. Knowing what colors, shapes, fonts, and layouts different people are drawn to can help us narrow our design decisions when creating learning materials for different populations. My name is Kindred, and I focus on design and production work of open educational resources published through Virginia Tech. I started this work as a student when I was studying psychology and just had personal interests in design. And after graduation, I continued my work at Tech and have contributed to our publications since then, providing design work and focusing on the accessibility of our open textbook publications. As I design textbooks for college-level students, my focus has been on readability, engagement, and accessibility. And most of what I've learned in these areas has been through trial and error, listening to student feedback, and leaning into my interest in design. So I have no formal training, but I have learned to use simple layouts with plenty of white space to enhance readability, use interesting color schemes for engagement, and focus on high contrast between colors and legible fonts for accessibility. Since focusing more on the design of our open textbooks, the feedback from students has been great. These are some things that they've had to say. I'd like to walk through some of the psychological theories that shaped my view on the impact that design has, and then walk through an example of how these theories can be used in practice when we're creating impactful covers for our textbooks. Open educational resources don't always possess the bells and whistles like commercially published content does, and I think it's about time that they do. So hopefully this session will offer some easy solutions on how we can make that happen. These are a few of the theories that have helped shape my view of design. The first is cognitive ease, which is simply just the ease with which our brains can process information. This impacts how positively or negatively we feel about something. So the higher the cognitive ease associated with a task, the more motivated we'll feel to invest our time and effort into it. In design, we can increase cognitive ease by simplifying the content in figures so that readers can quickly and easily digest what the image is trying to convey. The second is visual salience, which historically has been important for us to detect potential prey, predators, or mates in a cluttered visual world. The core of visual salience is that it announces, hey, this information is sufficiently different from its surroundings and is worthy of your attention right now. And this can be used in design when you want your reader's attention to focus on one thing. For example, using color to indicate an important section of the text, such as vocabulary terms. The third is the halo effect, which is the idea that positive attributes in one aspect influence perceptions of other unrelated attributes. Research in marketing has demonstrated that well-designed products or presentations are perceived as more trustworthy and reliable. So in design, having a well-designed cover can subconsciously encourage students to believe that a book's interior also has positive attributes, even if they've never seen it. Let's apply some of these theories as we walk through how to create a cover design. This example will utilize Microsoft Word, as most people already have access to this software, and it's a tool that can easily export into multiple formats. Let's go behind the scenes to see how this cover of Introduction to Earth Science was created. There's two main components of the cover here, an image and a title. Having a cover with only two main components increases cognitive ease, so that readers are immediately drawn to the bold typeface, and they don't have to use as much effort to figure out what this book is about. I think it's my duty to add a little disclaimer here that Formally trained designers would likely choose not to use one image on the cover, since a specific image likely doesn't capture the entire mood of the book, but rather one specific section or point that the book makes. However, it's an easy alternative that anyone can do, and for smaller publishing teams who need to be resourceful, I think it's an excellent option. The first component of the design is the image, and my favorite place to find high quality modern images is Unsplash, which is a website. So once you find an image you like, you can download it and drag it into your blank Word document. The second component of the design is the text. So to do this, you'll want to insert a text box, and this is where we can type in the title of the book. If you have time to scroll for hours looking through fonts, then be my guest, but to save a little time, I'm going to use a tried and true font, Hebo. And if you look closely, you'll find this font on a lot of Virginia Tech's open textbook covers. Another pro for using a big, bold typeface is that you can spot the cover from really far away, like on a bookshelf in the library. Bigger fonts are also more accessible for readers of all ages. Since the important information here is earth science, I've chosen to make that part of the text the biggest. And due to its size, earth science is a visually salient stimuli, so it'll grab the reader's attention immediately. And that's pretty much it. What really makes this cover come to life is how seamlessly the text flows with the image. And to achieve this, you might play around with text alignment or how the title is situated on the page. You might opt to overlay part of the image onto the text. And so to do this, you'll want to copy and paste the original image so that there's two versions of the image. The first remains in the background, the text is layered over top of that, and then the third layer is just the foreground of the duplicated image. To further unite the image and text, you could choose to use a bright color that is pulled directly from the image. In this case, the orange is a really good contrast against the almost black background. Since the cover is the first thing that readers will see, having a well-designed one can encourage students to believe that the book's interior also has positive attributes. But don't get me wrong, the interior should also be well-designed. To ensure that the interior is also engaging to your readers, consider these questions when looking at your manuscript. Who is my audience, and what designs are they drawn to? Is this page interesting to look at? Which font did you choose and why? Is it legible, and what tone does it communicate to your readers? Are the headers easily identifiable? Are there common elements in the text that you can add a design element to? For example, you could add a colored box to point out where learning objectives are. Are the graphics clear and not too wordy? If your graphics aren't clear, you could opt to create them from scratch using similar techniques in Microsoft Word. If you choose to create graphics from scratch, here are some things to keep in mind. You'll want to keep graphics simple for better comprehension and only include absolutely necessary imagery and text. You'll want to be consistent throughout the resource, so graphics should have the same line thicknesses, include the same colors, and things like that. You'll want to keep color contrast in mind for accessibility, and I've found Chroma to be a great tool for picking a color scheme. You could also just find an image online that you're drawn to and use Microsoft Word's eyedropper tool to grab colors from that image. And if you're looking for just icons, nounproject.com is a great resource. You can incorporate these ideas into anything you create, whether it's an open textbook, a slide deck, or other resources. And once you understand who your audience is and what design they're drawn to, you can increase the readability and credibility of your materials. As your OER programs start to grow, consider putting design at the forefront of your conversations. Hopefully, upon your project's completion, you can start to say, "Please judge my book by its cover."